How to pave path to career in technology. For this, right, I would say don't just think about or take it as finding a job, but have a mindset of building a career. What is the difference between a job and a career, right? If you take a job, you have confined yourself in that job, right? You wouldn't think more about growth and all that. You're driven by probably your salary and hikes and all that. But when you think about career, right, it is a broad idea. You would have every action or every step you take would be for your next step, right? It would be you'll be investing in your future. For example, in my first job, this is what my mentor said, right? So initially, with no programming experience in web technologies and everything, I just took the job, and so he taught me something. He taught me jQuery. That is like one of the JavaScript libraries. So I was learning, and after like 1 month, I used to spend a lot of time on it. I learned on it on my, I learned that library on my own, right? And after certain time, I really got hang of it, and I'm doing really well. And 3 months later, our project there were like major changes in project, and we have to pivot to using a framework called Angular JS. And he said that to us, and I was like, no, I just learned jQuery, so I have to spend again a lot more time, right? And this is what he said: this is the skill that you have to acquire. You know, the flexibility, the adaptability, always being curious and learning things. That only that would fetch you a better career. Don't just think about the small task or just this job. Think of a bigger picture. And this is my boss saying this to me, right? So he said, if you learn this technology, you'll find much better job in bigger companies. That's what he said, which has made me think, right? I mean, why would my current boss talk about my future career and my future job, right? So that is one of the good points of leadership that you have to catch, right? Like where he showed that growing people with you would build trust between each other. But for me as an employee, it made me realize that, well, yes, I shouldn't think about just this job or today's task. I have to think the bigger picture. Yeah. So that's one of the examples. So always have a mindset to build a career, not just a job. And then, right, develop technical skills. Develop technical skills. How do you develop, right? You might ask, well, I'm from this field of engineering, like civil engineering. I don't know what skills are needed to get a job. Find out. Find out. Use your computer. Use your mobile phones to research that. Research is your tool, right? This technological advancements have brought all this information to you. So use that and find people who could be your mentors. Like approach people with questions. You wouldn't know, like people around you are much more nicer than you think. I mean, growing up in India and in a very conventional family, I mean, even though I'm an outgoing kid, I always feared of asking questions, right? Because I thought asking questions is considered as stupid, but that's not true. Ask questions, however stupid it is. Approach people with questions. If that person didn't respond well, that's not your fault, right? That is that person's fault. So always be curious and approach people with questions. Find people on LinkedIn. See, that is another way, right? Research profiles on LinkedIn. See what kind of technologies and things that are needed for a civil engineer or for a mechanical engineer, for an electrical engineer, and develop that skills. And the other one is make meaningful connections. By this, I mean make meaningful professional connections. When you meet a person, when you meet a professional in this kind of setting, um, be be forward, right? Like put yourself there, be vulnerable, like put yourself there, approach the person and ask them questions. They will be willing to help you. If not them, approach someone else. So make meaningful connections that will help you build your career, or probably at least finding a new job, right? And also it'll help you develop that social skills, like to talking to professional people and dealing with them, right? And other one is knowing your strengths and weaknesses. This is very important. Like I cannot stress more on it, because if we don't know our strengths and weaknesses, we would, I mean, it'll be very hard for us to move forward, right? We don't know what to do. If you don't know what you are, you don't know what you want to do. So yeah, find your strengths and weaknesses. For example, one of my strengths is adaptability, right? I will adapt to situations. That is one of my strengths. And one of my weaknesses is I have no time sense. So that's my weakness, and I'm working on it. So finding our strengths and weaknesses will give us confidence in ourselves and in our abilities, so that we will find right career and right job path, right? So that's very important. Take a day and sit with your friend, or just you, just by yourself, and write down strengths and weaknesses, and see where you can improve, like if there is a need for improvement in strengths, and if you have to get rid of weaknesses, right? So yeah, that is another important one. And have entrepreneurial mindset. What do I mean by that? So entrepreneurial mindset is not just about starting your own business, or building something from scratch, or just innovation. It has it in a broader aspect, right? Some people might just want to work for a company and grow in that, right? But entrepreneurial mindset will help you anywhere, whether you want to work for a company or whether you want to have your own startup. Entrepreneurial mindset means like being curious, and then uh, like asking this question: how can my abilities, how can my skills be helpful for the community around me, or the company, so that if you think about your company, how, if you ask, how are my abilities and my skills can help my company to grow, that you that's basically the entrepreneurial mindset, right? You're approaching, then you'll approach problems that come up, or you will approach innovation, so that your company would grow, and therefore you will grow in the company. And it is called intrapreneur, right? Intrapreneur, which means a person working for a company but growing there and growing the company. And in the same way, a typical entrepreneur would think, how can my abilities and my skills help the community, or help solve a problem that are persisting now, right? So that's how you'll innovate, right? From the problem, you'll find a solution, and you'll innovate, and you'll build a beautiful product. So always have entrepreneurial mindset. And then hone your interpersonal skills, right? Hone your skills. Like some people might have skills, right? Like they can talk well, or some people might have excellent ability to collaborate. Not everybody could collaborate with people and work with people, right? But fine tune them. I'm pretty sure, as engineering students, you all have that ability to, like you have all these interpersonal skills, right? Hone them. And let me tell you this: English is very important, no matter what people say. English is very important, and it's just a skill, and it's just a language. You just have to put some time, right? You just have to put some time. Don't get into this trap where, oh, I don't know English, so I cannot do it, or whatever, right? It's just a skill like anything. Just acquire it, just practice it. People laugh at you, let them laugh. Like when I was growing up, I went to a very normal school. You wouldn't believe. I went to, um, I don't know, like very normal school in Vijayawada. It is called Navodaya Public School, where some of my teachers didn't even speak English. Like my biology teacher, or some other teachers didn't even speak in English. But I practiced. My uncle told me that this is how you're going to grow, right? So I practiced it. I intentionally trained myself to speak in English, and I just acquired that skill. And don't get me wrong, I love my mother tongue. And a fun fact: I'm a voice artist, and there is an app called Da Subhashitam, which publishes Telugu books. And I'm a voice artist there. So my first book has been published last week, and I gave voice for that. Right, it is all in Telugu, so I can speak very eloquently in Telugu as well as in English. So yeah, just approach English as a skill that you need to build your career, and that would connect you to the rest of the world. And this is another thing, right? And my personal experience in my current company, there are other Indians too, um, and they, like, most of them couldn't gel with people here, and they think it is cultural aspect. But as I observed, um, it is just the language barrier, right? It is, I mean, always have an open mind and approach problems, um, just to that aspect, right? So yeah, hone your interpersonal skills. And then finally, stop collecting certificates and build projects. So this probably might not be true for all the fields of engineering, because my brother is into civil engineering and he says certain certifications are necessary. But I am talking mostly about, because I'm a software engineer and with all my experience, certificates means nothing. Like if you did Python, if you are a Python programmer, if you put a certificate in front of the HR, nobody cares, right? Instead, build something substantial, right? Like build projects, no matter if it is a small calculator project or a small website or a personal blog, no matter what, just build projects. And one thing that I love most about computer science is that it is the only field of engineering where you could start building something from day one, which is pretty cool, right? You can like make let your hands get dirty with code and everything, and you can see it running. It is frustrating and all that at times, but yeah, that is what it is. So build projects and stop collecting certificates, because experience, I mean, I'm not saying the real world job experience, but experience in doing something always trumps all these certificates.